Hello, Army. Welcome back to BTS on 7. Today, we're diving into an unforgettable day at Rogers Stadium during the ARIRANG World Tour Soundcheck, where Park Jimin showed up ready to captivate, and the energy was absolutely undeniable. It was Soundcheck Day. Not the main event, not the full concert yet, just the preparation, the rehearsal, the moment before everything officially begins. But if you know anything about BTS, you know that Soundcheck is where the real magic happens. This is where the boys run through their set list, test their equipment, connect with the stage, and sometimes, when the energy is just right, they give fans a preview of what's to come that night. The Toronto leg of the ARIRANG World Tour had been highly anticipated. Fans had been counting down the days, sharing their excitement across social media, creating fan art, discussing what songs they hoped would be performed. There was this electric anticipation in the air, the kind that builds when you're about to witness something momentous. And then the day arrived. When Jimin took the stage for Soundcheck, something was immediately apparent. His presence commanded attention in a way that transcended just being another rehearsal moment. He was dressed in a richly layered brown ensemble, a soft, oversized hoodie that draped with an effortless casualness. There's something almost understated about that choice, yet it spoke volumes about his fashion sense. The color, warm and earthy, somehow felt grounding against the expansive backdrop of the stadium. It wasn't flashy or overtly designed to draw attention, but rather it seemed to suggest someone completely comfortable in their own skin, someone who didn't need to prove anything through their wardrobe. But then there was his hair. This was noticeably different from what many fans had seen recently. Longer than it had been in previous performances, it fell past his shoulders in soft, flowing waves. The length added an entirely new dimension to his visual presentation. There's an interesting psychology to hair length in performance. It changes how movement translates, how light catches, how the entire silhouette reads on stage. His hair seems to catch the light beautifully, and as he moved through the soundcheck, those waves would flow with him, creating this almost ethereal quality to his movements. What was particularly striking was his energy. There's a certain calmness that can sometimes read as reserved or distant, but in Jimin's case, it was the opposite. His composure during soundcheck felt intentional, grounded. He moved with deliberation, with purpose. Every gesture seemed thought out, every moment deliberate. Some fans have noted this kind of quieter energy before performances. It's often the calm before unleashing something powerful. There was an almost dream-like quality to the entire atmosphere. The weather that day in Toronto was overcast, slightly gray, and there was something about how the light played across the stadium that made everything feel slightly softer, slightly more intimate than you might expect for such a massive venue. The stadium itself was a sight to behold. The blue seats stretched out in neat rows, visible now before they would fill with thousands of excited fans. The structural elements of Rogers Stadium rose around them, the stage setup, the technical equipment, all the infrastructure required to pull off a world-class concert. And yet, during soundcheck, there was a tranquility to it all. It was the moment between preparation and performance, that liminal space where anything still felt possible. Jimin moved across the stage with a grace that seemed almost natural, as if he wasn't just walking through a rehearsal, but rather inhabiting the space, claiming it, making it his own. The way he carried himself suggested complete confidence in what was coming. There was no anxiety, no hesitation, just a quiet assurance that the night ahead would be something special. What's interesting about these soundcheck moments is how they reveal something genuine about an artist. There's less artifice, less production, less of the constructed performance persona. It's closer to who these artists actually are when they step into their work. And what we saw from Jimin that day was someone completely in their element, someone who understood the responsibility of the stage and was ready to honor that responsibility fully. Many ARMY who were there or who caught glimpses of this soundcheck have spoken about the feeling it gave them. The anticipation seemed to intensify rather than diminish. The energy felt like it was building towards something inevitable, something that couldn't be contained by the mere staging of a concert. It was bigger than that. It felt like witnessing an artist at a moment where everything, his preparation, his confidence, his visual presentation, his emotional readiness, all aligned perfectly. The brown hoodie, the flowing hair, the calm demeanor, the deliberate movements, these weren't accidental choices or random presentation elements. They all combined to create a specific impression, a specific energy, and fans picked up on it immediately. Social media began buzzing with observations about how different he looked, how serene he seemed, how there was something almost new about his energy, even as it felt familiar. There's always this question when an artist changes their appearance, when they present themselves differently. Is this a new direction? Are we about to see something we haven't seen before? Will this energy translate into the performance itself? These are the kinds of questions that build anticipation, that make fans lean in closer, that make them want to be part of what comes next. The soundcheck that day felt less like a technical run-through and more like a statement that said, "I'm here, I'm ready, I'm bringing something special to this stage tonight." And the stadium, even as it sat mostly empty in those moments before the crowds arrived, seemed to absorb that energy, seemed to recognize that something significant was about to unfold. What made this particular moment even more notable was the contrast with everything happening around it. There were weather considerations, logistical challenges, all the things that come with organizing a massive tour stop in a different country. And yet, Jimin's presence during Soundcheck seemed to transcend all of that. He was there, fully present, completely committed to the craft and ready to give everything to the fans who would soon fill those blue seats. The flowing hair seemed to symbolize something almost poetic, a kind of freedom, a release of constraint, a visual representation of artistic growth. It was different enough to be noticeable, yet it felt entirely natural on him, as if this was always meant to be. And combined with his calm, centered energy, it created this compelling visual narrative. ARMY who were there or who followed along couldn't help but feel that they were witnessing the beginning of something. Not necessarily something new in terms of the tour itself, but perhaps a new chapter in how Jimin was presenting himself artistically. The question lingered in the air. What would he do with this energy once the actual performance began? The beauty of a soundcheck is that it's both a technical necessity and an emotional preparation. It's where artists test their limits, where they find their footing, where they connect with the space they're about to perform in. And in Jimin's case, that soundcheck felt more than just rehearsal. It felt like a promise that the night ahead would be memorable, that his performance would be fully realized and emotionally resonant. As the day progressed toward evening and those blue seats would soon fill with thousands of ARMY, there was this sense of anticipation that had been building steadily since that soundcheck. What energy would he bring when the lights dimmed and the music started? Would that calm confidence translate into his performance? Would the flowing hair, the brown hoodie, the deliberate movements all combine into something that would define this particular concert date? These are the moments that make live performance magical. These moments before everything officially begins, when an artist stands on an empty stage and connects with something larger than themselves. Jimin's soundcheck that day in Toronto was one such moment, and it set the tone for everything that would follow. So there you have it, ARMY, a glimpse into one of those behind-the-scenes moments that often goes unnoticed, but speaks volumes about an artist's mindset and preparation. Jimin showed up that day looking different, feeling calm and carrying an energy that promised something special was coming. If you enjoyed diving into this moment with me, please hit that like button and let me know in the comments what you think about Jimin's styling and energy during this tour. Have you noticed changes in how he's presenting himself? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe to BTS on 7 and turn on those notifications so you never miss another update about our boys. Thank you so much for watching, ARMY. It's always a joy sharing these moments with you. See you in the next one.